I tend to pay more attention to the market's reaction to news than the actual news itself. So I've got some thoughts on that. But as far as the inflation numbers, it's no surprise. If I'm surprised about anything, it's that they're willing to show such a high number, because we know that the number is actually even higher than that. And you could make a compelling case that the inflation we're seeing right now is the highest in our nation's history on an official basis, or at least going back, several decades, even past the 70s. Because back when they reported double-digit inflation in the 70s, the numbers were much more accurate. They used generally accepted accounting procedures. Now, they use hedonics and all of these other metrics to suppress that actual number. So even that 6.2% or 6.8% is much lower than reality. We know that the price we're looking at is the price set in the paper markets. I think most of your listeners know that. And it's based on supply and demand of paper contracts that can be issued at will by these big banks. And we see these banks shorting into price rallies. Now, that's not, I don't want to say it's like some imminent sell signal, but it's not what we want to see. We want to see these bankers letting it go, but instead they're shorting into the price rallies. And that's reflected in the increasingly, we're not quite bearish yet, but it's reflected in the commitment of traders report. What's concerning is that, that we're right near this key resistance level in gold. In silver, we almost came up to the 200-day moving average as well. So I guess the concern isn't so much that there was a little bit of profit taking, but more that, it's obvious that based on the volume. Today's volume in silver was the highest buying volume we've seen going back, I think since the silver squeeze on February 1st. So this is massive volume. And to me, this has the fingerprints of the big banks shorting into this rally. That's the concern for me. Buying pressure is going to overwhelm it. I am highly confident in that. And that's where I put my own personal money. I think silver and gold are going much, much higher. The question is, over the next intermediate term here, over the next month or two, are we going to see some more backing and filling, or are we off to the races right here, right now? And I think how we close the week right here and then the month is going to be the first big indicator on how, the next quarter unravels. I think silver presents the best risk reward ratio over the next few years. We're seeing the dollar and the metals rally in unison today. And that just shows, there's not always a perfect inverse correlation between the dollar and metals. And I think probably some of the reason we're seeing that is, we've talked about this before, but the dollar index is just a measure against other fiat currencies. And, the Bank of England the other day, for example, decided not to taper when everyone thought they were going to. So other currencies can fall. And if they're falling less fast than the dollar, it gives the appearance of dollar strength. But really, all of these fiat currencies are on a downward trajectory in terms of purchasing power. Yeah. And silver, you can see right here is the 200-day moving average. That is currently just above $25, $25.45. And we didn't quite get there today, but that 200-day moving average is really so important because I'm pretty sure it's the biggest input to these institutional trading algorithms. And when price is trading above a rising 200-day moving average, those algorithms tend to be in a buy the dip mode. So if we can get back above that 200-day moving average, that would be pretty significant. So, you've got support at the lower rail. And then once we get above the upper rail, I think we can say the lows are very likely in, and we're likely to see higher highs and higher lows going forward. But we've got just a little bit more work to do in the silver chart before we can say that with conviction. I think of it as like multiple support levels, and I kind of scale in at each. So the first one in gold would be the 200-day moving average. That's right around $1,800. That round $1,800 number is key psychological support anyway. Below there, you've got the recent low of 1720, and then the big support is 1675. I really think that's the low. I would be stunned if we go below 1675. Of course, anything is possible. But if we did pull back to 1675 again, I would fully expect that to hold. And that's where I would look to add aggressively to my personal positions. For me personally, with physical metal, I just look at it as exchanging currency for money. And I just do it every month on an automated basis. I don't even think about it. I don't care what the price is. I'm just trading currency for metal every month. So I don't try and time it. I'm keeping my little bit of remaining cash in my mining stock portfolio is in the event that we do back test the recent lows. If that happens, that's where I would really back up the truck personally. We've all heard this before, but it's good to remind ourselves of these things, where we are in the big picture story here. And we're in a place right now where major governments around the world, especially the United States, are in a situation where their debt and the unfunded contingent liabilities are mathematically impossible to repay in today's dollars. It just cannot happen. There's a 4-letter word for why that's impossible, and that 4-letter word is math. So they have two choices. They can default honestly, or they can inflate away. And history suggests that 100% of the time, these governments choose to inflate away the debt. And throughout history, silver and gold have been the prime beneficiary of this exact environment that we're in right now. Yeah, the price action over the past year has been frustrating, is putting it lightly. I mean, it's just been downright, it's been terrible. But if history is any guide, that's not going to last. Silver and gold will do a full accounting for the expansion of debt-based fiat currency, just like they always have. So with that perspective in mind, the next month or two really is meaningless unless you're trading, or if you're looking to scale in and build a mining stock portfolio. If you've got a certain amount of capital and you're like, hey, I want to put this to work to buy these mining stocks, well, then you want to have a strategy to scale in with some precision. But if you're just looking to scale into physical metal, keeping that big picture is key. I'm reminded as you're speaking about the last bull market, two bull markets ago, I guess, depending on how you measure it, but the 70s bull market, there was a grueling pullback in 1978 where silver fell by, if I remember, about half. And then that last 18 months or so is when it shot up several 100%. So there's a saying that 90% of the move comes in the last 10% of the time. And I feel like where we are in this story, in this current bull market, could be right about 1978, where when this turns, I think it's going to turn aggressively and we're going to see a really sharp move. But fine tuning and really nailing where that turn happens, it's really difficult. But I am confident it's coming, and I think it's coming sooner rather than later. And we'll see if this current bounce right here is the turn where the trend has changed.
Before we continue, help us clicking that YouTube like button and subscribe now to our channel. This shows the algorithm that you valued this information. And it helps us spread that message. Sharing is caring. And now, let's continue.
Do you want to know one thing about crypto? I made over 3,000% in profit in a few weeks. Fact is, the traditional financial system, the traditional money system makes you poor, not rich. If you want to earn $500,000, $1 million, you have to wait until you're 50, 60, 70 in the traditional financial system, and you probably will still be broke. And you will be old. This is not a sexy combination, as you can imagine. But the question is, how can you start in crypto and make these profits? Where to invest? Where to start? My name is Gunnar and I'm from Germany, as you can hear, and things are a little bit different in Germany. More about that later on. Fact is, there are lots of different cryptocurrencies. It's a gigantic universe where beginners and professionals get easily lost. But there is light at the end of the tunnel. There are 7 key steps you need to follow to become successful in this market. You have to know them, and if you fail one of them, it's literally impossible to succeed in this market. Just an example, one of the key points is your exchange, and one of the biggest are, for example, Binance and Coinbase. These are trusted and well-established exchanges, but, and this is a big but, you won't find the super profitable coins on those exchanges. The unknown super profitable coins that get gigantic profits are not traded on those kind of exchanges. They are traded on much smaller insider platforms that are barely known. And I can tell you what those super secret exchanges are and why they are so profitable. And another super important thing are the right information sources. The point is, the internet is gigantic. There are hundreds and hundreds of YouTube channels, blogs, pages, and much more. And there are also market makers and influencers. For example, Elon Musk, he is not a crypto guy, but the moment he recommended Dogecoin, it went through the roof, to the moon, so to say. But why did he recommend it? Where did he hear it from? He didn't hear it from newspapers. And believe me, he is listening to someone. But you have to know who, and you have to react before he is reacting. This is really, really important. And these are only 2 of the 7 steps you have to follow in order to be successful in crypto. And if you want to know all of these steps in much more detail, and if you want to have a comprehensive checklist, here's what you should do. There is a link below this video. Click on this link and you will get the opportunity to subscribe to my channel. Click on the link and you will see a video where I explain the next steps. So see you soon. Click on the link now. I'll see you there.